Hello, in today's video we're going to break down one of my all-time favorite pieces to play on the ukulele, Blue Roses Falling by Jake Shimabukuro. This piece is amazing at teaching different fingerstyle techniques as well as musicality and developing great tone, so if you're looking to up your ukulele game, this is the best place to be. Now, I'm going to bring the camera down, bring the tab on screen. You can download a copy of this tab completely for free on my Patreon page. It's linked down below. In addition, all of the different techniques that we're working on here today have links to lessons that you can check out. So if you're unsure how to chunk or do three-finger picking or ghost note strumming, all of that is linked down below. But let's go ahead and dive in, bring the camera down. The tab looks something like this. Now, there are a lot of sections to break down. This is a very long video, so make sure you're using the chapters down below as you're working through it. Don't feel like you got to do this entire lesson all at once. It's okay to pause and come back to it. But let's go ahead and start with the intro, one of the most iconic parts of this beautiful tune. Now, I'm going to be using three-finger picking for this, and for most of the tune, I'm using three-finger picking. As I mentioned before, you can find a link down below to be able to unlock this technique. Now, we're going to start by playing 2 on the C string with our middle finger, or index finger, excuse me. Our middle finger goes to the 3rd fret of the E string, and our pinky finger here on the 5th fret of the A string. Now when we do this, what can be really helpful is with that index, even though it's only on the 2 of the C, you can kind of do a bar across. And the reason is because the next chord we're going to play is going to involve that 2 there as well. So we've got 0, 2, 3, 5. Doing a little bar there, middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E. We're going to start by plucking our C and E together with our thumb and index with three-finger picking. Then the 5 on the A with the middle finger here. Then we're going to play the G, and then the 5 on the A. And when I play that G, you can tell this is a high G piece, and it really does require a high G to sound like Jake. But you can try it with a low. It's going to sound a little bit different, but the high G gives the full effect. After I've played that 5 on the A, I'm then going to take that middle finger off, leaving the 2 on the C and the 2 on the E together there. I'm going to pluck the C and the E together. Then I'm going to hold that going into the second measure here, let it continue sustaining. Then I'm going to pluck the C string, E string, still on the 2s there, open on the G. Finally 5 on the A, and then open on the G to finish that second measure. As I go into the 3rd measure here, I'm going to take the index off, play open on the C and the E together. Then I'm going to play 5 on the A, open on the G, 5 on the A again. Then I'm going to reapply that bar with my index finger on the 2nd fret of the C, E, and A strings, really focusing on the C and E because those are the ones that are being played, before plucking the C and E together, then plucking the C, E, G, A, and then the G again. And that's the whole intro part. Now, it repeats here, so we're going to actually play it twice all the way through, and that's going to sound something like this when you put it together. Isn't that beautiful? Moving on now, we're going to go to melody 1. It's sort of the main melody of the song. There's a lot going on here. So that you can hear it though, here's what measures 5 through 8, as the tab shows on screen, sounds like, so you can get an idea. So how we play this is we start with a G chord, index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, but we're not going to place our middle finger here on the A string quite yet. And the reason is we're going to play the C and E together, then we're going to play open on the G, then we're going to play open on the A string, and then we're going to do a hammer on with that middle finger onto the 2nd fret, and then we're going to do a pull off to open on the A string. And then we're going to immediately play the G string. This is one of the hardest parts of the whole tune, but it sounds magical when you get it right. A quick little tip for the hammer-on and pull-off, make sure that when you're doing the hammer-on, you're really, really squared up to the string, and make sure that the index and ring fingers here are not coming down and touching that string, because that's when the problems arise for tone. So you want to make sure you're nice and articulate with them. And when you do the pull off, it's okay to actually bend the finger a little bit, because what we're trying to do is actually pluck the string. We're plucking it just like the playing hand would, only it's with our fretting hand instead. Take some practice, but once you get it, it sounds so nice. And after we played that open on the G, we're then going to move to 2 on the C and 2 on the E. So that ring finger, right after doing the hammer-on pull-off, it's going to go behind to the 2nd fret of the E string, take the ring finger off, pluck the C and E together, then play open on the A, pluck the 2 on the E, still there with the middle finger, play the 3 on the E, adding the ring finger here with the fret hand, then play open on the A, and then play 0 on the C and 3 on the E together. Take the index and middle fingers off, leaving the ring finger alone there on the 3rd fret of the E string. Pluck those 2. Then we're going to play open on the E string, so take that ring finger off. 2 on the C with the index. Open on the C. 2 on the C again with the index. Hold that into the next measure. Then play 2 on the E with the middle finger here. Play open on the A. And then 2 on the C. 2 on the E, and open on the G. A lot of notes happening here, but you can start to see how the fingers stack in different ways to hold and sustain, and that's what creates the really beautiful sound of this melody. It's not just the individual notes, but it's how you're fretting and maintaining your fret integrity as you go through to create that really full, lush sound. Sounds something like this when you put it together, measures 5 through 8. At this point, it repeats. So we go back to measure 5, play it as is. And then we go into 6. And then instead of going back to measure 7, we now go to measure 9 for the 2nd repeat. And so that you can hear it, I'm going to play melody 1 with the 2nd repeat. So I'm going to play measures 5, 6, and then it jumps to 9 and 10. And that should sound something like this. So the difference there on this section is pretty subtle. We're going to start on measure 9. We still play the 3 on the E string, which is still with the ring finger, right? It's just taking away the fingers. We're going to pluck those 2 notes together. We're going to hold it now for a couple beats before playing open on the E string, and then 2 on the C with the index finger, open on the C, 2 on the index again, and then we're going to play 2 on the E going into measure 10, pluck that, and then open on the A. And then it's this little pickup into the next melody section. We're going to play open on the E, 2 on the E with the middle finger this time, and 3 on the E with the, 2 on the E with the index finger, and then 3 on the E with the middle finger. Really important that we have this middle finger here on fret 3 at the end of measure 10 to set us up for melody 2. But that's what that section sort of looks like. Sounds like this. I'm going to play just measures 9 and 10. Should be... And so that you can hear all of melody 1 with that repeat should sound something like this. Oh, I made a little mistake there, didn't I, right? What I did is I went into the next section because these repeats are so easy to mess up with. If you make a mistake like that, don't stress. It's always okay to make mistakes. You just want to kind of rewind and figure out, okay, where did I make that mistake? How can I go different? Well, I'm going to start on measure 5 again. I'm going to make sure I jump to the 2nd ending this time as I go through. Mistakes are part of the learning process, so when you make them, it's okay. So now from here we go on to melody 2. Now if you remember, I told you make sure you had that middle finger there on the 3rd fret of the E string, right? Well, the reason for that is because you're then going to play the 4th fret here on the C string with your ring finger to start melody 2, and then you're going to have the index here on the 2nd fret of the A string. So you see how the hand is set up. Now I'm going to play all of this, measures 11, 12, 13, and 14 so that you can hear it, but I just wanted to make sure that you could see why we're using that middle finger there as we start. But here is what melody 2 sounds like. So a lot going on here. It's only a few measures, right? But it's a lot of different techniques. We're going to start with 3-finger picking. We're playing that sort of E minor chord, 4, 3, 2, like we mentioned before. Pluck the C, E and A together, open on the G, and then play the E and A together. And then we're going to flip-flop the fingers. The middle finger moves up to the 3rd fret of the C string, and the ring finger moves down to the 3rd fret of the E string. So we have 3 on the 2 interior strings. I'm going to pluck the C, E, and A all together at the end of measure 11. Creates this nice little dissonant chord. Before on measure 12, then playing the strings individually, starting with the C, E, A, and then we play the E and C. So that's all 3-finger picking. As I go into measure 13, you'll see this little squiggly line. What does that mean? Well, that's telling you to take your thumb on your playing hand and sweep through the strings. I'm going to sweep through 0, 2, 0, 2, index here on the 2nd fret of the C, a middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. I'm going to go through with my thumb there. And then I'm going to move to strumming. So these little symbols that you can see, this is strumming techniques. The little 3/4 square is a down strum, and the little V looking symbol is an up strum. I'm using my index finger for all of this. If strumming is something you haven't worked much with, I have an entire course available on my Patreon. Please check it out. It's very helpful for this stuff. More on that later. But I'm going to do a down, and then an up, and then I'm going to do a down, taking the middle finger off of the fretting hand. So it's 0, 2, 0, 0. Come back up with the 2 back on with that middle finger. Then I'm going to do a chunk. Again, a technique if you don't have experience with, there's links down below. Definitely check it out. But then after I do that chunk, as I do the chunk, I'm going to slide these 2 fingers up to 4 on the C and the A strings. I'm going to add the ring finger here to the 5th fret of the E string. So I have this sort of 0, 4, 5, 4. And I'm also going to add the pinky finger here to the 5th fret of the A string. I'm going to do all that while I do the chunk because the next strum is an up strum and I'm going to be playing 0, 4, 5, 5. It's really important to use these fingers here because I'm going to come up and then I'm going to bring the hand back down to kind of miss at the start of measure 14 and kind of pause for a moment. So it goes. And then I'm going to play down on 0, 4, 5, 4. So that pinky finger comes off. 0, 4, 5, 4 with the index, ring, and middle fingers. So really it's a tricky transition for sure, but that all can kind of take place as you do the chunk. So that gives you the time. And so that you can hear it, here's measures 11 through 14, going from 3-finger picking into some strumming. Should sound something like this. Going into measure 15 through measures 18. Some repeats are here. It's a nice little section moving into the next one. Sounds something like this so that you can hear it. So how we play this is actually relatively simple compared to some of the other parts. We're going to play all open and we're just going to pluck the C and E strings together. And then pluck 3 on the A, use the ring finger, and 2 on the A with the middle finger, open on the A, and go to 2 on the C and the E strings. And you can use your index and middle fingers here to play those 2 interior strings. Pluck those 2 together. Hold it going into measure 16, and then we're going to pluck C, E, A, E, C. So this nice little syncopated pattern. Syncopation just means sort of accents on offbeats, and you can see that because it starts on the and of 1, kind of holds the note, and goes through. If that's confusing to hear as me talking through it, that's okay, just listen to it. Try to feel that sort of sound. But measures 15 and 16 then repeat as well. So just so you can hear those 2 measures, because again, they repeat. and then it moves on to measure 17. Measure 17 starts off exactly the same. Same as 15 going into 16, but then 18 is different than 16. It's just holding the 2 on the C and the E, and then it's going to pluck 2 on the E, 3 on the E, add the ring finger there, right? So we're already here, add the ring finger, and then play open on the A. And that's going to move into the next measure here. So that you can hear it though, here is measures 15, 16 with the repeat, and then going into 17 and 18. Now at this point, we go on to measure 19 and the song starts to change a little bit. We're pretty much going to be strumming from here all the way to the outro of the song. Up to this point, it's been primarily a 3-finger picking piece. From this point forward, it's primarily a strumming piece. So if strumming is something that you struggle with, I definitely recommend checking out the links that are with the tab to get better with the strumming technique, keeping your hand moving. One little golden rule of strumming is to keep your hand in constant movement. What goes down must come up, what comes up must come down. If you keep this moving, you're going to be in time as long as you're, well, moving your hand to the same beat of the song. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. So let's go ahead and work on now this measure 19. We're going to be playing a G chord, 0, 2, 3, 2, just like this, index, ring, and middle fingers. I'm going to do a down strum, and then I'm going to do another down strum. Remember, what goes down must come up. So I bring the hand up, kind of missing the strings. And then we're going to do a down and an up. And then we go down with the 2nd fret open on the A string, and then come back up on the G chord. And then I'm going to bring my hand down before coming up again. And then you'll see measure 20 has the notes in parentheses. That means you don't play them. You can see that strum in parentheses. So we're going to kind of miss the strings going down before coming up, and then down, and then up. And then on this next down, we're going to take the middle finger off, play down, and then up. And then we're going to put the middle finger back on 2 and play that down and up. It can be painful to work on this if rhythm is something that you struggle with, but this is what it sounds like. I'm going to play it a couple times so that you can really get the feel, and in future measures I'll be playing them before walking through them. I just want to make sure you could really see this movement. So it should sound something like this, measures 19 and 20. And a quick tip, if you just keep this moving the whole time and you don't miss the strings at all, you just strike them every time, it sounds like this. You hear that still sounds right. Keep that in mind. The rhythm doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if you strike the strings when you should have missed, as long as your hand is in the correct timing. So when you're learning the song, it's okay to change the rhythm a little bit here and there. Just be cognizant of what you're doing, and that as long as this keeps moving, you're going to be in time. But from this point, it goes on to melody 3. So before we do that, let's go ahead and hear what all of melody 2 sounds like. That's going to be measures 11 through 20, going from the 3-finger picking into the strumming. Should sound something like this. Going right into the next section, melody 3. This is, I think, my favorite part of the song. I'm going to play it for you. This is now measures 21. I'm going to go to the first repeat on 28. Should sound like this. Or the first repeat on measure 24, excuse me. So 21 through 24 sounds like this. It's such a fun part. So this part is going to introduce another new technique. We've had chunking, we've had strumming, 3-finger picking. This is going to introduce the ghost note technique, which is one of my all-time favorite techniques on the ukulele. It's a very unique high G technique. This is featured in my Ultimate Ukulele Strumming course. You can find link down below. You can use the code JAKE for 50% off if you're interested. Also, course members on Patreon can access it as part of their membership. So strongly suggest checking it out if you haven't already. I also have some free videos on it. Those are important to check out too. But if you don't want to click away from this video, the trick to ghost note strumming is you take your thumb and you strike the G. And you're going to see that listed here. If you look at measure 21, you see that 0 on the G. That's a ghost note. It's a down strum in its motion, and instead of doing a strum down with the index, you're going to take just the thumb and just hit the G string. It can really help to make sure that you're kind of coming a little bit out, and even use the fretboard here to give you some feedback for that thumb to just strike that one string. That's the gist of the technique, and this is going to end up looking something like this when we put it together. We're going to bar across the 2nd fret all the way with the index, do a down, then up on 5 of the A, then a chunk, and then we're going to come up on 0037, so we slide the pinky up to 7, index finger comes here to the 3rd fret of the E string, come up with an up strum, then do a ghost note, and then we're going to come back up with our hand. Remember, what goes down must come up before doing another down strum on that 0037. As we go into measure 22, we bring our hand back up. We're going to do a ghost note. And then we're going to use our ring finger here on the 5th fret of the A string, taking the pinky finger off. Come up, ghost, up, ghost. See how we're kind of alternating between ghost notes and up strums for that cool sound. And we're going to come up on 7 with the pinky on the 7th fret of the A. And then we're going to do a down strum. And as we go into measure 23, it's actually very similar to measure 21 was. Bar all the way across the 2nd fret, down, up, chunk. But then we're going to go to 0035 instead of 0037. And we do that by leaving our pinky finger where it is, taking the middle finger, adding it on the 3rd fret of the E string, and stripping the index finger away. We're going to come up on this chord, then a ghost note, and we're going to miss coming up before doing another down with the 2nd fret on the E string, keeping the pinky where it is. So you see the middle finger comes off for the index there on 2, do a down strum. We're going to come back up with the miss, and we're going to do a ghost note, up, ghost note, and then we're going to come up with the 3 back on, reapplying that middle finger. Do that with the up strum, and ghost note, and then up. And then we're going to go down, back on the 2, so that middle finger comes off one more time for a down strum. That's a doozy. There's a lot going on here, but as long as you keep your hand moving and you follow along, you'll be able to get it. And it's okay. Everyone learns this a little bit differently. If you're a by feel player, it's okay to listen by feel. If you're like me, it might take a little bit more time, and you might need to really buckle down with each strum and slow it down. Everyone's different. But so that you can hear it, here's measures 21 through 24 with the repeat at full speed so that you can really get a feel. It sounds something like this. Isn't that nice? Going into the next section here, measures 25 through 28, really. It's got a repeat. We're going to end on 27 for the moment before we go on, because it will sort of repeat as we go through. 25 through 27 will sound like this. So these 3 measures, more of the same. We're going to start with the bar across 2, same up on the 5 on the A string, same chunk, coming up to the 0037 that we did on measure 21, up strum, ghost note, then a miss followed by a down strum. And then going into 26, we're going to do a ghost note. But as we do that ghost note, we need to move our fingers into a new position. Index finger here goes to fret 9 of the A string. Ring finger here, or excuse me, middle finger here goes to the 10th fret of the E string. So we have our middle on 10, index on 9. We're going to come up, do a ghost note, another up, ghost note, and then we're going to take these fingers and slide them up. Now the tricky part is the middle finger slides up 2 frets to 12, while the index only slides up 1 to 10. That's a little challenging, a little bit more of a separation there. It can kind of help with these, with the 10 and 9 to be more straight up and down. And then as you turn to the 12 and 10, see how my fingers kind of slant towards my shoulder? That can help open up that space. But we're going to do an up on that and then a down on it. Before then going to 27, where we jump all the way back down to our same that little part there is the 2-2-2-2 going to 2-2-2-5 chunk to the 0-0-3-5. So that's the same thing that we played on measure 23, right? And then same ghost and down on the 0-0-2-5. So that's exactly the same as what we did earlier on 23. These three measures sound something like this. Going into the next part, well, what happens here is measure 28 has a little repeat. So I know the formatting here looks a little funny, but on measure 28, we play that same part that we did on measure 24. And at this point, it repeats back to measure 25. And then instead of going to 27, we now jump on to 29 for the second repeat. And this part's a little different because the timing does change a little bit, or I should say the number of beats per measure change. If you look at the very end there on 31, there's only 2 beats in that measure. Something Jake likes to do. It creates a really cool type of sound. So you can hear it something like this. Here's measures 29, 30, and 31, kind of implying that first ending. It should sound like this. So all that is the bar across 2, come up with the 5 chunk, and then the same up on 0-0-3-5 that we did before, and then the ghost. Now, this is where it's different. It uses the ghost note and then up, still on that 0-0-3-5. Previously, we would switch to 2 and things like that. This one's a little bit different. So on 30, we do ghost, up, and then ghost, and then up on the 2 with the index finger there on the E string. Miss the hand coming down, come up again on that chord, and then a ghost note, and then come up again on that chord, and then we go into measure 31. We're going to miss the strings on the down, and then we're going to come up, down, up on that chord. And that actually drives into the next melody section. Whew, a lot going on there. But so that you can hear it, here's 29 through 31. It should sound like this. Here's all of melody 3, starting with that strumming section on 21, going all the way through. Should sound something like this. And from here we go on to melody 4, which you'll notice if you look at the tab, we've got melody 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. The reason for this is Jake goes off into a really cool strumming tangent with this song. Bring the camera up for just a moment. When Jake plays this part of the song, he plays it differently all the time. He's been performing this song for like 16, 17 years. It's been a long time. It might even be, actually, I think it's longer. I think it's about 20 years. Crazy how time flies. But the point is he does a lot of different things. I created 3 different versions that work off of some of the things that he's done, but they're not exactly the same. They're just, again, kind of connecting the dots. So if you learn these parts, you're going to have a really good infrastructure that you can try your own things with too. And that's an important note to this whole piece, is this is my adaptation of Jake Shimabukuro's Blue Roses Falling with the intention to teach it, to make it accessible and playable. So just keep that in mind. A lot of these parts are going to be just standard 8th notes. You'll notice there's no 16th note or double time strumming shown here. That's for the sake of trying to keep it simpler and more approachable. If you can play these though, you can learn how to start adding things like double time and all of that. I've got more information on that on my strumming course, but let's go ahead and dive in, bring the camera down and the tab on screen. Start with this melody 4.1. Now we're going to play the same chords that we used at the intro almost. It's just a little bit different. We're going to start with 0, 2, 3, 5, and we want that index finger to do that same sort of bar, right? Because we're going to start by doing a down, and then we're going to do a ghost note. So we want to make sure we go down, miss the strings coming up, ghost, miss the strings coming up, and then another down, miss the strings coming up. Then we're going to do a ghost note, And then we're going to come up on 0, 2, 2, 5. So you can see that little movement. Now I'm going to play these 4 measures so that you can get a feel for it, but I just want you to be aware of that movement before I did because it looks very similar. Here's what it sounds like though. Measures 32 through 35 with the repeat. Should sound something like this. Neat, right? So we start with 32, down, ghost, up on the 0, 2, 2, 5. Going into 32, we're gonna miss and we're gonna come up, ghost, up, miss, up, down, up, all on that 0, 2, 2, 5 chord. Pretty neat. Going in 34, the rhythm on 34 is exactly the same as the rhythm on 32, just instead of playing 0, 2, 3, 5, we play 0, 0, 3, 5. So we just take that index finger off, middle finger is right there on the 3rd fret of the E string. We're gonna go down, ghost, up. So it's the same exact thing we did on 32, except open on the C. And the very last note is that same 0, 2, 2, 5 that we did at the end of 32 as well. So same little part coming up with that before going on 35, which is exactly the same as 33. So 35 is miss, up, ghost, up, miss, up, down, up. So here's what it all sounds like together. Again, with the repeat shown in there. This is a really fun strum part. I love to play this section. Sounds like this. And again, as long as you keep that hand moving, you're going to be doing this absolutely spectacularly. It's all about keeping the movement, and that movement is what's going to create consistency as you play this. So just keep that in mind as you're working through it. From here, we go on to melody 4.2. This is a really, really cool part. Sounds something like this as I go through. Isn't that nice? So the way that we play this is we start with our G chord here, 0, 2, 3, 2 with our index, ring, and middle fingers. We're gonna go down, and we're gonna come up with the middle finger coming off, so it's open on the A. And then we're gonna do a ghost note, and then we're gonna come up with the 2 back on, so that middle finger comes back on it. Then we're gonna do a ghost note, and then that middle finger comes back off on the up. And then we're gonna do a ghost note, and then we're going to come up on 0, 2, 2, 0. So this middle finger goes to the 2nd fret of the E and the ring finger comes off. Come up on that. And then going into 37, miss, up, ghost, up, miss, up, down, up, all on that same chord. Kind of a cool. As we go into 38, 38 is exactly the same as 36, only instead of having the 2nd fret here on the C string, we're open. Otherwise, it's exactly the same movement coming on and off with that middle finger. It's just now 0, 0, 3, 2 instead of 0, 2, 3, 2. And 38 looks and sounds something like this. And then goes to the same 0, 2, 2, 0 chord. And 39, exactly the same as 37. So it's the same rhythm as it goes through, which is pretty neat. Now again, if you keep your hand moving, you could do this, and just for a little exercise, I'm gonna play this whole part, keeping my hand striking the strings every time. It sounds like this. Still works, right? That's the trick. Keep the hand consistently moving, and it doesn't really matter if you strike or miss the strings as long as you're moving your hands at the right time. But here's what it sounds like played as written here with the repeat. Should be something like this. This is the magic of ghost note strumming. It sounds absolutely awesome. So from here we go on to melody 4.3. So this is the third and final little strum solo section that we're going to be doing. It's actually the easiest of all of these. And when we're playing this as part of the song, we want to be winding this down, kind of preparing for the outro of the song, kind of finishing it. Now, what we're going to do is a pretty simple pattern. We're going to be going down, down, up, down, up, down, up for that measure 40. And then measure 41 is up, down, up, down, up. And then 42 and 43 are going to be the same rhythms as 40 and 41. It's just playing a little bit different chords. Sounds something like this so that you can hear it before we dive in. With a repeat. See, I kind of slowed down more on that in just a moment. To play it though, measure 40, we're going to start with this 0, 2, 3, 0. So it's like the G chord without that A string. And we're going to go down, miss coming up, and then we're going to go down, up, down, up, down. And then for the very last up of the strum, middle finger goes here on the second fret of the E string, ring finger comes off, we're gonna come up. Then measure 41, miss, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up. So a nice little syncopated pattern where we're doing miss, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up. Sounds really nice. Going into 42, we take that middle finger off, so it's open on the E string. Same rhythm we did on 40. Down, miss, down, up, down, up, down. And on the last up, we add that second fret on the E string again. Going into 43, exactly the same as what we played on 41. Miss, up, down, up, down, up. Exactly the same sort of rhythm. Now, when we do this and we do the repeat, I want you to, as you play 42 and 43 the second time, slow down because we want to get into the outro with a lot less energy than we're going into it with, than we're going into measure 40 with, right? So 40 all the way through with the repeat sounds something like this. You hear I got quieter and slowed down a little bit, and that's because the very end here is the outro, and it sounds like this, measure 44 through 47. Now there's more to the end, we'll get there in a second, but these four measures start off basically the same as melody 1, right? It's the same little G chord. Same little hammer on, same 2-2 on the C and E strings, right? And then the same little. The only difference here is it's a little bit longer. Like we hold that 0 and 3 at the end of 45 into 46 a little bit longer before playing open on the E, 2 on the C, open on the C, a bit slower on 46. And then as it starts on 47, it's going to be doing an in and out pattern on this 0, 2, 2, 5. So that's index finger barred on the C and E strings and pinky here on the 5th fret of the A. And the in and out pattern is going to go C, E, G, A, G, E. And it repeats C, E. Now on 47, it ends there with the E string. We'll see in a second how it actually is going to continue that same in and out pattern. But it's called the in and out pattern because you're going from the interior strings to the outer strings, back and in. So measures 44 through 47 will sound like this. Going into 48. So all that 48 and 49 are a continuation of the in and out pattern. We're going to play the G, A, G, E, C, E, G, A, G, E. And you'll see that's where we stop there on 49. And I like to slow down as I go into that before at the very end playing the 2 on the C and 5 on the A together. And a little trick here is instead of playing them truly simultaneous, try to actually apply the tension and play the thumb, then the middle, so that they're just offset. It can sound really nice. And so that you can hear it, here's the whole outro part. It should sound like this. And there you have it. Blue Rose is Falling by Jake Shimabukuro. Bring the camera back up. As I mentioned at the start, this is one of my favorite pieces to play ever. I've been playing this piece for a very long time, been using it in private lessons, and it's such a beautiful piece, and it teaches so much about nuance to playing the ukulele. For me, it helped develop a lot of my musicality, of my tone, of my technique, and it's done the same for my students, and I hope it can do the same for you as well. Now, quick piece of advice. Don't be confined to playing this just as the tab here is saying it. Jake plays this song a bunch of different ways, and you're welcome to do that too. I recommend learning the tab to the best of your ability, and then once you have that infrastructure, once you have that foundation, listen to different versions of Jake play it and try to make it your own. This piece is absolutely beautiful with limitless possibilities. As I've worked on it with private students over the years, they all have a different arrangement, and it's one of the things that I think makes it so special. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Again, make sure you download the tab on Patreon, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next lesson. Thank you so much.